Are we rolling? Okay. Hi, my name is Ny'Aira Ebene. Ooh, full government name. Collins. And I just realized I ain't got no earrings on. Hold on, y'all. This is the introduction and first step of Who Am I? Hope you enjoy. As my mother likes to tell the tale, my first exposure of my gifts, per se, we were laying in the bed. It was the wee hours in the morning, and we had the radio alarm set for our alarm clock next to the bed. I was kind of stirring in my sleep, and there was a Keith Sweat song that came on. She doesn't recall, well, from what I was told, she doesn't recall which song it was, but I sang it from beginning to end, and that was the beginning of who I was to evolve to now. I was born in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Grew up primarily in Aurora. Eventually, us migrating up to Detroit, Michigan for a multitude of the stage productions that I was in. Of course, my development years were amazing, being in Motown and being surrounded by so many talented kids. I actually recall my very first audition. I auditioned for the play Annie, and we had drove all the way up from Michigan to New York. I couldn't have been anything but maybe 6 at the time. I beat out 300 girls. My very first audition, okay? Very first audition. I made it to the final cut, but I wasn't selected because I didn't have any formal dance training at the time. And of course that kind of snowballed into me. Big multiple productions from The Wiz. I was Evelyn, which was some of the most memorable moments of my life with big stars at the time, with Miss Angela and Miss Tanisha, who did choreography, and Mr. Ruben, who directed. Shout out to some of my big stars fam, Javi, B, Rob. He's been doing his thing in LA lately. And just those experiences in themselves of being able to find an outlet to express myself. I've always been a creative. My favorite and first funny thing is I've always been one to easily have a photographic memory. I can memorize songs, memorize scripts off the top of my head. And the very first album that I've ever purchased was Brandy's Never Say Never, which is still one of my favorites. 1998, it was released the same year I was born. Oop, maybe that's just showing how young I am. But yeah, Never Say Never. But it kind of correlates with the first film that I fell in love with as far as quote-unquote musicals, yeah. And that was Double Platinum with Miss Diana Ross and Brandy. And those two were some pivotal figures in my life. When I first started getting into music and just expressing myself, I had this super small toy piano when I was younger, and I was coming up with songs off the top of my head and singing for the entire family, and just going from there as far as evolving in my gifts as a songwriter, which I didn't know until I was 12, and just traveling and performing. I remember my first time on Broadway at the Carolines Live. Shout out to Mr. Tim Green of Tim Green Films, because he technically was the first person to discover me and presented me with some serious opportunities for overall being able to live in Los Angeles for 5 years and working with Disney and Nickelodeon and Fox and Lifetime, and just kicked down the doors of opportunity for many of us that he discovered. But for me in particular, it had a very large impact, and we're completely, ultimately grateful to him. My mother, may she rest in paradise, and myself, most importantly, migrating on from the Wiz and my stage productions and touring troops, and of course the Broadways, and preparing for television shows and traveling all across the states, honing into LA. I believe it was 2011. We were preparing for the Rising Star Awards, and I had actually written my first song. She was kind of like, when did you write this? And I was so scared, honestly so scared to present the song to her, because my mother was my biggest fan and my worst critic. Okay, she really was just very, very constructive criticism, very hard on me, but it shaped me into who I am, to be honest. So yeah, rewinding back to LA, Rising Star Awards. I was collaborating with a fellow friend of mine from the Corporation for Artistic Development. We had been on the Keys Kids television show at that time, and we did a duet with the song. I worked with a couple of fellow producers to record the song for a demo, and that was my first song, Born to Be a Star. It's crazy. Hey, look at me, I was born to be a star. It's so corny. It was so corny, but that was my first song. I was 12 going on 13 at the time, and that was my very first song that I ever performed. Of course, thankfully, we did not professionally record the song, because woo child, the last thing I want to hear is me at 12 hooping and hollering in a mic. But I'm pretty sure if I did some digging, I could probably find the demo and listen back to that like, Jesus, ooh, that was a lot. But yeah, of course you had to overcome the obstacles of LA. Once we got done being tourists, we were going from Hollywood Boulevard to Venice to everything, just touring and eating, and just because I'm a foodie, to let y'all know, we're here. Hey, us, yeah, get you some deep fried Oreos from Venice Beach, child, and go to, I always tell everybody, because when we first moved, I was living in Pasadena, and we migrated to Pomona as well later on in the years. But Pasadena, if you go to Connell's and get you a Philly cheesesteak with the steak fries, and they give you just so much fries, but get you a Philly cheesesteak, fries, and a milkshake, you won't be disappointed. Honestly, it's chef's kiss, delicious. Okay, my first big performance in LA, and eventually we were able to go forward with the mentoring of Mr. Tim Green, go forward with getting an agency and auditions, and I auditioned for some amazing productions as well, not just for television, from Hairspray to A Lion King again, which I did also audition for after my my audition with Annie years ago, along with my fellow stars and big stars for the Wiz production, which was absolutely amazing. I didn't get selected for that, but hey, it's okay, it's cool. But yeah, Hairspray was an amazing audition. Funny story, and I don't tell people this story often. You remember Ant Farm, right? I had a callback for the show Ant Farm, and they went with China Ann. Shout out to China. Hey girl, how you doing? They wound up going forward with China Ann because she had a little bit more experience than I did at the time, and of course she was a little bit older, so it was a lot easier as far as going through, of course, child labor laws, paperwork, because you could only work a maximum amount of time frame in addition to schooling on set. Luckily, I was homeschooled at the time, so it made it a lot easier to just do all of my tutoring and my courses online and homework, and pack the computer with us, and they had us all in a separate room where we would do our homework, and we had some tutors that were on set with us to help us if we had any questions or concerns. Wow. No, but a lot of these kids had parents that were business owners, and because they couldn't be with them for the opportunities all the time, they had to homeschool, and some kids were just like, I just wanted to be home. The program I used was K-12, and I was homeschooled from 8th grade to throughout my high school years, and I chose to do online courses because I'm a Full Sail University, graduated with my bachelor's in audio production. Yeah. Oh yeah, audio production, mixing, mastering, recording, sound design for video games, Foley work as far as being able to make and cultivate my own sound effects for movies and such. It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of work. But when I tell you it was well worth it, and just the experience of the people, even though I was virtual majority, it was completely and utterly fantastic. Yeah. Let's get some questions from the supporters. Hey Ari girl, how you doing? But yeah, what advice would I give to my younger self for where I am now? That is a great question. Everything isn't your fault, regardless as to what it may look like on the outside. There's always more that meets the eye, and that which has something to do with you, or you may have caused the outcome, because everything is choice. You have the opportunity to change that. Love on yourself more. Self-love is the best love, quite honestly. And thank you. Self-love is the best love, and the more that you love yourself, the easier it gets, and you'll be able to decipher who needs to be in your life and who doesn't. And those that can't understand you prioritizing you time and getting you together, then they don't need to be in your life, girl. Oh yeah, and everybody is not your friend. Let's put that out there. Okay. Everybody asks me that. I originally had a little bit of a something up top here with my curliness, my juicy curls, and I have a very tight coiled curl. I was just tired of everybody saying that. My mother was very picky as far as, like I said, biggest fan, worst critic. You need to do something with your hair, and eventually I was just like, you know what, I'm tired of everybody telling me what to do with my head. So one day I was just bored, and I was looking in the mirror, and I said, yeah. And now I'm bold and delicious and beautifulness. Okay. I love it. I love the fact that I can show more of my face, and it's more about serving face, child, than anything else. And now that I've mastered putting on eyelashes, it's the best feeling in the world. Oh man, the most challenging event in my life and how I overcame it. I would have to say the most challenging part of my life was losing my mother. The day I found out, I collapsed on the floor, and I was never the same after that day.